We all know the famous Oprah meme, that Oprah moment, you get a car, everybody gets a car. Well, Trump's Department of Homeland Security now has its own version, except instead of cars, it's government surveillance lists. You excited yet? Because you commented on an ICE checkpoint, you're on a list. You shared a post about where ICE was operating in your neighborhood, you're on a list. You followed an account that tracked immigration raids, you might be on a list. You posted in a Facebook group in Spanish about ICE activity in your town, you're definitely on the list. Me, I'm likely on one, and if not, I will be because of this video. Because platforms like Google, Meta, and Reddit are already handing over some of your private information. No judge required. Look, the New York Times reported this a couple of weeks ago, that the DHS has sent hundreds of administrative subpoenas to Google, Meta, Reddit, and Discord over the past several months. And let's be clear, these are legal demands for the names, email addresses, and phone numbers behind anonymous social media accounts that either criticized ICE or simply posted about where ICE agents were operating. Again, though, this is through an administrative subpoena. And here's what makes these different than a regular warrant. A judge never sees it. The DHS writes this subpoena up, they write it up internally, they sign it and send it directly to the tech company. No court review, no oversight, no judge looking at it and going, do you actually have a legitimate reason under the law to blow up someone's anonymity? And what did Google, Meta, and Reddit do? They have already complied with some of these subpoenas. It all started in September of 2025 with DHS sending 2 subpoenas to Meta, demanding the identities behind accounts that were part of something called the Montco Community Watch. It was a Facebook and Instagram page in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. It had 10,000 followers, posting bilingual alerts about ICE activity in their community. And they cited a U.S. code, 19 U.S.C. Section 1509. It's a federal statute written for customs investigations, but it was designed to investigate the illegal import of merchandise, not to squash political speech, not to squash immigration commentary. Merchandise, like crates of goods coming off of a ship. The DHS using a law meant to track illegal goods to demand your name because you posted on Facebook about what ICE was doing in your neighborhood. The First Amendment be damned. So then Meta, they notified these users 22 days after DHS sent the subpoena. And then they were only given 10 days to fight it in court or Meta would comply with the subpoena. 10 days to find a lawyer, draft a motion, and file it in federal court. Thankfully, the ACLU of Pennsylvania got there in time, filed an emergency motion, and the DHS quietly withdrew the subpoena on January 16th, before a judge ever ruled on it. Which is important because it would have set a precedent. They withdrew it to avoid losing. A DOJ lawyer named Sarah Balkinson told the court directly that DHS's use of these subpoenas rose last year under pressure from border czar Tom Homan. Legal experts have said that these were previously barely used, and they were only used for stuff like child abductions and customs fraud, cases where speed mattered or lives were at stake. Now, they're being deployed by the hundreds against people for just posting sarcastic tweets about immigration enforcement, people who shared neighborhood watch information in Spanish, people who followed accounts that tracked ICE, people who jump on YouTube to make sure that these stories aren't buried. And according to Steve Loney, a senior attorney with the ACLU of Pennsylvania, the government is taking more liberties than they used to. It's a whole other level of frequency and lack of accountability. And the tech companies, they're not covering themselves in glory here. Google is saying they're pushing back against these overbroad requests, but it also complied with some of them. Reddit complied. Meta complied. So the only thing standing between you and the government taking your identity is whether a tech company's lawyers feel like fighting that particular week. It's not about immigration. You and I know that. Hell, the immigration raids themselves aren't about immigration. It is about intimidation. I mean, the legal framework here is that the federal government can send a demand directly to a tech company, no judge, no warrant, no probable cause, and unmask anonymous, protected political speech, just whenever it decides that that speech may impede one of its operations. I mean, think about what that precedent means. Today it's ICE critics. Tomorrow it's anyone critical of any federal agency. You talk about how gross and unwell Trump looks, or how Tom Homan looks like a boiled hot dog that's wearing a suit instead of a bun, you get an administrative subpoena. I mean, back in 2017, Twitter was suing the federal government when the first Trump administration tried to unmask a single anonymous account. That subpoena was withdrawn, and now the DHS is sending hundreds of them at a time. Multiple companies are complying without a fight. So what exactly did you post online in the last 6 months? Because if it had anything to do with ICE, there's a non-zero chance that someone at DHS has already requested your name, email, and phone number. It's absolutely ridiculous. And depending on what platform it was, they may already have it. It's the government building an enemies list in real time. They're going to call you a domestic terrorist when your only crime is sharing public information about what's going on in your neighborhood and where federal agents are operating. It's legal to share, and it's protected by the First Amendment.
A corrupt congressman, his faithless henchwoman. Together they've sold justice to the highest bidder. But when a boy's death threatens their empire, they'll lie, bribe, kill to keep their secrets buried. Only one man remembers, and this time the system's fixers are the ones getting fixed. A Death in Arcadia. Every secret has a price,